Representative Smith, would you like to move House File 2294?
Yes, Madam Chair. I move House File 2294 before this committee.
Very good. All those in favor? No, wait. Okay. Representative Smith, go ahead with your explanation of the bill, and if you have testifiers, we can go ahead with that too.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members,
we have a
House
handout
File
that's
22
coming, folks. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, House File 2294 deals with eliminating the wait period of 5 days to attain a marriage license. Currently, Minnesota is one of 2 states left in the country with this long of a wait period. It has turned out to be non-consumer friendly and burdensome to the court. And this bill would take the wait period down to 0 days. And I have a testifier to add some additional language to the testimony. Thank you.
Good morning. Welcome to the committee, and please introduce yourself for the tape and go ahead with your testimony.
Thank you, Chair Scott. My name is Mark Chapin. I work for Hennepin County, and my role there is I'm the county auditor, the treasurer, and I'm director of licensing. So I'm here today to support this bill, House File 2294. And I'll keep my testimony very short. I'm going to cover a couple of things. First, the purpose of the legislation, as the representative indicated, is to eliminate the requirement of a 5-day waiting period. Currently, the local registrar, which in Hennepin County, and I think it's true of most of the counties in the state, provides a license to a couple who is seeking to be married. The law currently requires a 5-day waiting period. Under the proposal, that would be eliminated, and all other provisions in the law, other than the judicial waiver, which wouldn't be required, would remain the same. So Chapter 517 would remain the same, other than elimination of the 5 days that the clerk would have to wait before that license could be issued. Nationally, Minnesota is in the minority, as Representative has just stated. We do have the longest waiting period. We're tied with Wisconsin at 5 days. In Wisconsin recently, they amended their statute that if you pay a $25 fee, you don't have to wait. But Minnesota currently is the longest. Eliminating the waiting period would bring Minnesota in line with the majority of states, and the little sheet that we have indicates the number of states that do have no waiting period. I'm speaking really on behalf of Hennepin County because we do issue the largest number of marriage licenses, more than 9,000 annually. And so this is a burden for couples to wait for the license to be issued by the clerk. Because even after the license is issued, you still have to find an officiant, 2 witnesses, and then that marriage ceremony has to occur after examination under oath by the officiant, and then they have to file the marriage certificate. Our customers indicate that the 2 most frequently cited reasons for why they are asking for a waiver, and this is what they tell the courts, so I'm getting this from the 4th Judicial District, is that first, they didn't know they had to wait. They didn't know there was a law that said they had to wait to get a license. The second reason is they didn't want to wait. They either want to get married that day or in the next few days. They wanted some flexibility around it. Those are the 2 major reasons. Infrequently, there are reasons such as the health of the spouse or a family member, somebody that might be dying, they want a license, they want it more quickly than what the law currently provides. We checked with the 4th Judicial District, which is the Hennepin County Courts. They've been keeping track for about the last year and a half, and they indicate that they believe about 200 to 300 waiver requests are requested annually. And what this means is if an individual wants that license more quickly than the 5-day period, they need to go to a judge, and they need the judge to sign the waiver. And I know in some jurisdictions that might be fairly easy. For example, in St. Paul, I know you can get your license at the courthouse, and you can probably find a judge in the courthouse. In Hennepin, it's a little more challenging. We have 6 service centers. If you're in Maple Grove, for example, you want your license today and you apply, you need to come down to the government center, and you got to find a place to park, which is kind of like over here. It's difficult to find that. Go through weapons screening, find the signing judge who's sitting there signing ex parte orders for domestic cases, harassment cases, get the signature, head back to Maple Grove, and then the clerk can issue that license to that individual. Again, it's an exception, but it is burdensome not only on our customers, but it's also a drawdown of the courts. And the courts have asked me informally to bring this to you because they've got more pressing matters than signing these waivers. At Hennepin, they've never had an instance where they've denied one of these waivers. I mean, it's always a possibility, but it hasn't been the case. This has been on our books since 1931. We couldn't find the stenographer's notes from that time as to why the legislature in 1931 thought they should have this provision in the law, because it had not existed since we became a state. Our suspicion is during that time, marriages went down dramatically during the Depression. There was a lot of concern about whether people could support a spouse and whether they could have children. And so it may be that this has something to do with that. I would be speculating in suggesting that, but the timing of the law in 1931 makes me wonder if that was part of it. In any event, I'm here today supporting this bill and hoping that you will give it favorable consideration, and if you've got questions, I'm here to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Chapin. I just want to get on the record, too, that this would not allow someone to do a hurry-up wedding where they're not doing checks and balances, where if someone says they're 18 or 19 and they want to get married and they're actually 15 or 16, we're still checking those things out, and we're still making sure that no one is already married. Those sorts of things are still happening. This is just taking away some burden off the court. Any questions?
Chair Scott, that's correct.
Thank you. Representative Hillstrom.
Thank you, Representative Scott. I actually am strongly supportive. I just want to make sure that you plan to keep this as a clean bill. I've carried a marriage bill once before, and they tend to be fodder for people trying to amend them into sometimes not really anything like the bill they started off as. So is it your intention to keep this marriage bill just this subject?
Madam Chair,
Representative
Representative, yes.
Madam Chair.
Representative Hillstrom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a story, actually, of a waiting period problem. I volunteered for the Homeless Connect project, where they spend one day, they have all the homeless folks come in, and they provide them with haircuts and legal advice and help them clear up all sorts of things. And we had a couple that said, we want to get married in Hennepin County, but we don't have a mailing address. And so when you have to wait 5 days and you don't have an address, you can't get married. And so I think it's really important that we have the ability for everyone who chooses to get married to have that opportunity. So I'm strongly supportive of your bill.
Great. Thank you. Representative Lesh.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not sure if this is a reason to oppose the bill, but I note in there one of the good reasons of why we should sort of streamline this and do away with the waiver system is because of people with upcoming military deployments. And let me tell you this, there's not a soul in the United States military who gets deployed on 5 days notice unless you're Special Operations, Army Rangers, or Special Forces. And I can tell you, thank God, because I have plenty of privates who have made dumb decisions over the years. And suddenly, they knew they were getting deployed, and right before deployment, they either get talked into getting married by their significant other, or talk their significant other into getting married, and it was one of the worst decisions they made. Because you see the impact over the course of mobilization. So I think that actually is a good thing in the case of the military, but to the extent that there's already 200 to 300 waiver requests being granted in Hennepin County as it stands right now. They'll probably find a way to do it if they're gonna, but I just wanted to note that just because there's an upcoming military deployment doesn't mean it's a good reason to streamline the system.
Madam Chair,
Representative Smith.
If I could add to that, of the 250 on average waiver requests just in Hennepin County, we don't have a number for the statewide, to our knowledge, 0 have ever been denied. So it really is not, if someone is looking to do that in a quick fashion, this really doesn't aid them in that aspect.
Thank you, Representative Smith. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to testify on House File 2294? Seeing no one. Any closing comments, Representative Smith? Any closing comments?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, very good. Representative Smith then renews his motion that House File 2294 be re-referred to the General Register. All those in favor, please signify by saying A. A. All those opposed, nay. The motion is House File A and nay rhyme. House File 2294 A. ARG, that's ARG, right. House File 2294 is on its way to the General Register. Thank you.